Good morning, folks. Let's build a system that shows us the workdays in a month. Let's start by setting cells A and B to a data validation. That would be a rule that is valid date. And what that allows us to do now is double click and we can set let's just start with January. Let's set the date of January 1 and let's finish at January 31. So we have now set up a set of dates that we can use as the start and end date. Let's go ahead and insert a row above that, and let's go ahead and freeze that top row, and let's put in start date and end date. And notice because I added that row, these data validations are wrong, so let's go ahead and click on data validation, see my rule here, and I want to change that rule to A2 to B2, so I don't have these validation errors. Let's go ahead and set this to bold, and that'll work for us. Now we want to set up our next column. And let's call this work days. Okay, so let's use a formula equal to workday. So there's a formula called workday, number of workdays, and we want the start date to be this. Then our next section would be, the number of days. Well, let's use sequence. We'll use a sequence function, and the sequence function is going to be, we'll then insert our net workdays. That's another function, the net workdays, and that calls for a start date, which we will put in as A2, and then the next one is B2. So we have a start date and end date. We're not going to worry about holidays. Notice that gives us a start date of 1/2. So let's go ahead and take this start date and -1. Now that gives us the first start workday of January 1st. In order to have this fill out all the workdays, we need to do an array formula. On a Mac, I can do Command-Shift-Enter. And now you can see I have a list of days, 1/1 through 131. What I'd like to do here is put in a count. So this is going to be number of days. And we'll do this equal to a count, A, of column C, but we'll go C2 to C. And we won't autofill that. So now we see that there's 23 workdays. Now one of the things I would like to do on column C is make a custom date format. So I'm going to select all of column C, and I'm going to do a custom date format. And right now I have a day. Well, here's a custom date format I've already set up. So what I did, you can build these custom date formats. I want the day, the month, the day, the year. The day and month are separated by a space, and the rest of these are separated by the /. So now if I choose that custom date format, I can see where my work days are: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And you can see that's all built with a single array formula that's building my workdays, and here I'm counting how many workdays they are. Now, one of the functions of Workday, if you look here, you can include holidays. So let's go ahead and do that. In this column, I'll go ahead and paste in a set of holidays. And then in my formula, I'm going to have to put in those holidays. So this is the Workday formula, and here's the net workday. So the net workdays also includes holidays. So I'll do a comma, and that's going to be E2E, in case there's other holidays. But also, then, if I do that, that's going to give me some extra days in here, I think. But notice when I did that, let me do an undo. Notice there's 23 days, and if I do a redo, I have 21 days, because these holidays are disappearing. But notice the holiday is not disappearing from 1/1. So what I have to do is also find where my workday function is. Now my workday is my start date, the number of days, and that's this whole sequence function. And then that's the end of the sequence. This is the number of days, and the number of days here, if I put in a comma, will tell me the holidays, and I can do E2:E. Now if I do that, notice my holiday in January, New Year's Day, is now gone. It's not a work day, and 1/15 is now gone. So what we're doing here is listing with a single formula all the work days, Monday through Friday, for a set of months. Now I could change this to a different month. Let's go ahead and change this to this. Well, that's going to break this. I would have to switch this then to February, and then I can see my February. Notice my February 19th is not included as a workday. But I don't like that error popping up when I choose that, so I'm going to put in another if statement so that if this date is greater than this date, then it's going to give us some words instead of the error. Right now, if I put this up to March 1st, I get this error. I don't want to see that. So let's fix that. So to fix that, I'm going to come here. So I'm going to put in an if statement at the beginning of this array formula. I've already put that in there. Well, actually, I put in that part of it. So I'm going to say if, and I'm going to write if B2, or A2, is greater than B2, then we want to say, be sure that the start date is the same, and then I think I'm going to have to add an ending to my if statement. Let's see what happens. Yep, there we go. So now, and if I did a text wrap on this, text wrap, so be sure the end date. So now I see that I've chosen a date beforehand. I could get back to my date, and then it calculates correctly. But if I make this mistake and do this first, be sure the end date. And in fact, let's make that even more obvious. We're going to say, if this information in here, this here, let me get rid of these. If we go, be sure the end date. Okay, let's copy that. So then let's go ahead and in this cell, let's do a conditional format, and let's put in is exactly this bit of data here. Then let's turn this cell red, make this white, make white text and do that in italic, for instance, something like that. So now it comes out really obvious. Be sure that the end date is after the start date. So then I can come in here and choose an end date that's correct, and it calculates correctly. So I hope this helps. This is a quick way to calculate some automatic calculation of workdays, how many workdays, and excluding holidays.